Welcome. Well, Cody, are we on? All right. Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the Rotary Club of York, where our mission is to improve life in the city of York by connecting our club's diverse community leaders through fellowship, action, and service. My name is Doug Berman, and I have the privilege of serving as president this year. So we always start with a historical fact. And I struggled a little bit with this one. I think you'll know in a moment. So why? That's not funny. Um, so 1975, on this date in 1975, NASA launched Viking 1, which was allegedly the first spacecraft to land on Mars. I say allegedly because the more research I did to fact check that a little bit, there's pictures of it landing in Arizona. So I'm not sure if it really did. So I moved on to number 2, which was in 2004. Search engine Google was launched and raised $1.7 billion in its initial public offering. So that was going to be my fact today. However, past President Bryan, trying to trip me up, just hit me with another one. On this date in 1749, the county of York was formed. Bryan, the tripping up part was Bryan said, so York celebrates our 276th anniversary. And I wrote that down. I was like, wait a second, that math is not mathing. I'm not very good with numbers, but I think that's 277, Bryan, right? So today we celebrate our 277th anniversary in the county of York. So, all right, we'll move on to more important items. With our opening song, The Star-Spangled Banner, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Todd Fogdahl, our invocation by past President Glenn Miller, and visitor introductions by Alicia Stanley. Todd.
Please join me in our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry you're getting me 2 weeks in a row, but I'm an old retired person now. I have nothing else to do. Hear the wisdom of that great writer of American scripture, Mark Twain, from his book, The Innocents Abroad. Travel is fatal to prejudice, to bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one's little corner of the earth for all of one's lifetime. And with that wisdom, I invite you to prepare yourself for prayer and reflection. O God, whose wisdom is broad and whose charity towards us is boundless, we are grateful this day for the depth and breadth and diversity of your human creation, for the human family made in your divine image and likeness. We're grateful for the experience of our speaker today and for the generosity of this club which enabled it, traveling to a distant land, experiencing a taste of that divine diversity, and in so doing, helping to break down walls of prejudice and pry open minds and hearts. Grant us all, even we here in our little corner of the earth, well-traveled hearts, that we might reflect the love you have for us in our relationships with others. Bless our time together, the food we have received, the hands that have prepared it. To you, the creator of all things, of all nations, tribes, races, and peoples, to you, the one God, of many names we pray. Amen.
I'm pleased to have the honor of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until President Doug has welcomed you. Tyler Wilt from Harrisburg Rotary Club. Christina Wingert, guest of past President Wilda Ream. Rebecca Diaz, guest of Natalie Gunderson. Alden Miller, guest of Jake Miller III. Ada Miller, guest of Jake Miller III. Corbin Shearer, guest of Steve Whiteley. Eric Barshinger, guest of the speaker. Gwyneth Barshinger, guest of Alyssa Barshinger. Zeph Barshinger, guest of Alyssa Barshinger. Dottie Barshinger, guest of Youth Exchange. Greg Barshinger, guest of Youth Exchange. Issa Marin, guest of Youth Exchange. Freddie Marin, guest of Youth Exchange. Elaine Yates, guest of John Yates. Gino Sylvester, guest of Gina Spengler.
To our visiting Rotarians, we hope you enjoyed today's meeting. To all of our guests, especially those of Youth Exchange, thank you for being here. I think you're going to enjoy the program and the update as much as we all do. So, Rotarians, please help me welcome our guests. You can be seated. So a few announcements say the Youth Enrichment Committee will meet on August 20th at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Youth Exchange will also meet tomorrow at noon on Teams. The Speedy Committee will meet on August 25th at noon at the Prince Street Cafe. And our Membership Recruitment Committee will meet next Wednesday, immediately following the meeting in the Mixed Grill downstairs. One additional announcement, if you did not see the email, tomorrow's crab picnic has been canceled due to the weather. So again, anybody who is planning on attending that, make sure you do not go to Wrightsville tomorrow. Or go to Wrightsville. I don't really care if you go, but okay, so last week we had our new member happy hour. It was held last Thursday at the Yorktown Hotel. We had over 40 people in attendance. It was a great evening, brought together some of our newer members as well as some of the current members for an opportunity to connect and enjoy some time together outside of our regular Rotary Club meetings. I want to thank everyone who joined us that evening and made it such a big success. Special thank you to our Membership Engagement Committee for hosting this event, and to Dave Cheverini for taking the lead and making it such a fun evening. We would also like to congratulate and recognize 13 of our own members of our Rotary Club who were recently named to the Central Penn Business Journal's Top 300 Professionals list. This recognition highlighted the leadership, dedication, impact these individuals are making in their respective professions and throughout our community. We're proud to have so many outstanding leaders as members of our Rotary Club. I will say identifying all of our members on the list was a bit of a challenge. Thanks to Terry for kind of painstakingly going through that. If we did miss anyone, we apologize. Let Terry know. We are going to be posting this on social media, so we can at least update it if there is anyone that was on the list. But perhaps a round of applause for the members that were highlighted. I would guess that's probably the most members any Rotary Club in our district can claim on the list, but I'm not sure. Don't fact check that one. Terry, a few words from our executive director in her first full week as in the role now that following Lynn's retirement. So Terry.
Hi, everyone. First off, I just want to thank everyone for the warm welcome I have been given over the past few weeks. It is an absolute pleasure to get to help lead this amazing Rotary Club, and I'm really looking forward to all the wonderful things we're going to continue to accomplish together. 2 quick housekeeping items. First off, whenever we have someone new join our club, we have a mentor or buddy program. This buddy is assigned to every new member to really help with that onboarding experience. And the whole goal is to just give another familiar face to our newest member. We are definitely in need of a few more buddies. So if you have been a member, say for a year or more, and are interested, you can reach out to myself or to Lisa Barshinger, who has graciously agreed to help us with that whole assignment process. So feel free to tell us, email us, whatever is best. I also want to thank Teresa Gregory for all of her work on this program over the past several years. Excuse me. The other bit of housekeeping news is for Club Runner. Many of you have your picture in Club Runner. Some might not be the most up-to-date pictures. So what I have realized is some of our newer members have not yet uploaded. So if you have not uploaded a picture, by all means, talk to Heather, who is our amazing admin assistant, or myself. We are more than willing to work with you. And if you have been a member at the club, say for more than 10 years, and you no longer resemble your picture, it may be time to update. Now, I was not going to call anyone out for this because, I mean, I pretend to be a nice person, but President Doug insisted I should call people out. And who am I to go against the president? So I was looking recently, and we have a member who is a good friend, Ray Rosen, who celebrated his 38th year in the club recently. And Cody, if you would show Ray's original picture. So that would be Ray the day he joined the club 38 years ago. A huge thank you to his wife, who is more than happy to provide me with that picture, and many others. So don't worry, we can keep updating everyone. But if you also may not resemble your picture anymore, please take care of updating it. You can again talk to Heather or I. We are more than willing to do whatever. Thank you so much.
Nicely done. Thank you, Terry. It would be great if we could all update our pictures. I find that very helpful. Next, I'll ask Lisa Barshinger, a committee member of our Membership Engagement Committee, to come forward and wrap up our table talk session.
Thank you, President Doug. But don't go too far. I'm going to ask you the question while we all had an opportunity to discuss. What was your very first job and what did it teach you? So the Membership Engagement Committee had so much fun planning the Rotary Means Business event a couple weeks ago. It was great to see so many familiar faces there, and it got us thinking about this question. What was your first job and what did you learn from it? Doug?
So I interpret this to mean first job with like an actual paycheck, like with taxes and everything, right? Not so, yeah. So I'll share. The summer before my senior year in college probably taught me work ethic, probably more than anything. I worked 40 hours at the Pennsylvania School Employees Retirement System, kind of an accounting internship. And then I would finish my day promptly at 4 o'clock when the stampede of state employees left the office, and head to the Hess gas station in Lebanon, put on the big white jumpsuit, if you've ever been to Hess gas station. And I worked an 8-hour shift at the Hess gas station. So I worked 80 hours. I made $5 an hour at both. So it certainly wasn't about the money, but that was probably, I did learn a lot about work ethic and what I did not want out of my career.
Okay, so 80 hours a week? 80 hours a week? Okay, so it prepared you for the 120 hours a week you work now? All right, so we're going to open it up to all of you to be able to answer this question. What did you talk about at your tables? Doug mentioned that he learned work ethic. What did you learn? We should have someone with a mic. All right, we have Terry with the mic. Who wants to go first?
Wow, not all at once.
Yeah, if you need someone. So my first paid position was to be Batgirl for the Baltimore Orioles when I was 16.
Love that.
Woo!
Love that.
And so what did it teach me? One, my first opportunity to really work with a vast array of people. But two, a profound love for the Baltimore Orioles, regardless of their record. So,
Love that.
yeah.
What a fun first job.
Turns out we had, I'm to represent our table. It turns out that the first person who said what their first job was here. And what paper did you work for? York Dispatch. And I'm sorry, I don't, Mike. And you want to tell them? So Dick was also a paper boy. So I was listening to other people's remarks. Frank had an interesting job, and I didn't hear what you did. Oh, I wasn't. Okay, well, then I'll have to tell you. And you were your
Days. Oh, yeah. Days super thrift. Yeah.
About the interesting ham story. So when these two said they were paper boys, my sister and I, my father was in charge of the circulation for the Sunday News, which was involved, it was the Lancaster Sunday News, but there was the York edition. And whoever was delivering papers near where we lived wasn't doing it anymore. So my father decided that my sister and I would deliver papers. So we delivered papers. We had to go collect for the papers. It was only Sunday, so we had to get this all figured out before we went to church. And as you pointed out, because you worked for the Sunday News, it was a big paper, and you had to put parts of it together. You had to put circulars together and things. We could never get it open because it was all tied up in bundles. Anyway, my dad said that this would really teach us a lot. So that's where I'm going. It did indeed teach me a great deal. Paper boys would come to our house. We would go to their house. But when we went to collect, the person opened the door. It was our first house we went to. They opened the door and we said, "We're here to collect money for your paper." And the first thing they said was, "You're girls." I took too much time, sorry.
We appreciate you sharing the story. What else did you learn? I'll say for me, my first job taught me integrity and how important that is. And that has served me well through my career. At CVS, of all places, I learned integrity at CVS. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you so much for playing along. Just a couple quick announcements from membership engagement. We have an upcoming biz tour at Tech Centro, which Gina is helping us out with from 5 to 7 on September 10th. And we also have another biz tour on October 15th from 5 to 7 at Grand Falloons, and it's actually a city walking tour, Royal Square and the Market District. So we're really excited about these two upcoming events. We would love to see you at one of them, if not both, but you can register on Club Runner, and we encourage you to do so we know how many to count on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. And now I'll ask Mike Osherman to come forward with a Love for Community update.
Well, we're just about close to a month away here, or maybe a little shy of a month away. And for that great event. And I'd like to thank the presenting sponsors, North Industrial Chemicals and Fox 43, and our platinum sponsors, Gladfelder Insurance, Powder Mill Foundation, and Wellspan Health. Okay, we're talking about croquet today. So one thing I thought, I was putting this together and I go, something popped into my head. Well, croquet, AI. Okay, AI, limerick, croquet. 5 seconds later, literally, a player with a mallet named Roy found hitting a wicket great joy. He aimed for the hoop with a terrible swoop and knocked his own ball to destroy. Okay, now, what makes croquet a good option to play at? Well, croquet is a place for players with all skill levels and physical abilities. It's very easy to play, even if you've never played before. I always love to watch a new player get a few wickets and get excited about learning and enjoying the game. As an example, my wife Chris and I never played before the first year of that county cup, about 11, 12, 15 years ago now. Somehow that day we managed to come in third out of about 30 or 40 teams and won a substantial amount for the Belmont Theater, which was our sponsor. So that kind of locked us in and got us to become croquet enthusiasts. And I would say to everyone, give it a try and you may enjoy it also. But like tennis and golf, it's a vintage game. And if you are a vintage club member looking for some fun, you can easily play without all the skills involved in golf and tennis. So all it takes is a little basic manual dexterity. So if you can walk and hold a wooden stick, you can play. But on the other hand, if you are a serious player, there's a never-ending list of maneuvers and strategies to challenge your mind and physical activities when you play. Just remember, if you're competitive, that like me sometimes, the game's so much about fun as it is about winning. So whether you're vintage like me or young and hip like a growing number in here, thankfully, there's no reason why y'all should not give it a try. So it's a silly yard game to some and a serious challenge to others. But we welcome all of you, and it's a hell of a lot of fun, especially after a little lubrication down there. Above all else, playing in any of the sports during that day is about the goal of raising enough money for the community event. Thank you, and we need players, so please sign up.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you to the fundraising committee for all your efforts. September 14th is coming fast. I know we're still trailing last year's numbers a little bit in terms of sponsors, but we're also trailing on participants. So whether it's cornhole or croquet, golf, pickleball, or tennis, there's still time to sign up. I hope you all consider participating. And if none of those activities are of interest, at least come to the dinner and bid often on auction items. So something for everyone. Now, I'm going to ask a couple of leaders from the Youth Exchange Committee to come forward with an update. John Yates as Youth Exchange Chair and Albert Blakely as Youth Exchange Committee Member.
Good afternoon. The Youth Exchange Committee is really glad to see all of you here, and you're going to be glad too. Today, you are going to hear stories about success and growth in the York City schools and beyond. To continue this success, Youth Exchange needs to grow. And so my pitch is, as the warm-up band, to give you a sense of where we are and where we're going. To send more students abroad, we need to host more students here. And to host more students here, we must become active in more school districts. Because that's the deal. As a Rotary district, we cannot send more kids than we bring in to host. So we need to establish youth exchange in school districts that are outside of the York City schools, York Suburban, and Dallastown, while each year recruiting new participants in the city, in suburban, and Dallastown. That's right. We have to walk and chew gum at the same time. We're looking for help. So today you are going to hear about success in Spring Grove, thanks to the Barshingers. In the Central York School District, we have an open invitation waiting for us to show up. You get it. To achieve all of this, we need impactful help from a new set of committee members. So here is a different message than you have heard previously from Youth Exchange. If you have experience in any exchange program of any kind, anywhere, please talk to us. Does AFS ring a bell? Does CIEE ring a bell? Does FYU, got it wrong, YFU ring a bell? Or church programs? Anything. It does not have to be Rotary. And again, we're welcoming participation from any school district. Now, there's also an introductory, smaller level of engagement opportunity. If you like interesting teenagers, consider becoming a registered Rotary Youth Exchange volunteer. The qualification process is easy. Obviously, and we can help you through it. And, you know, we could probably even get President Doug qualified. I don't get mad, I get even. So here's an example. Exchange students are not allowed to drive under any circumstances. That's by regulation, right? Even if they're a licensed driver in their home country. If we could get a few more registered volunteers that could help with driving, it would provide a huge help to host families and to counselors handling routine stuff like coming here. So consider the possibility. I guarantee you that the in-car conversations are always interesting. So that's it. All of the success that you will now hear about relies on volunteers who like working with high school students. Come join us, come bring what you know. It's fun and it is hugely impactful. With that, our wise and resolute Youth Exchange Committee Chair, John Yates.
Thank you, Albert. The words that I would use to describe youth exchange are words like public diplomacy, international friendships, peace building. Just think about those words in today's world, and you can see what the value is. Host families. Host families get to gain an international member for 3 months or more. And basically, we are, as a group, a service project that benefits the city of York and York County. Now, we really do all of this through one very special group, the exchange student. So right now, this club has a young lady from York Heights, Anaya Phillip, who is in Peru, and based on her first month's report, is having a really good time and has a great situation with her school down there. We have another young lady from York High, Isa Marin, over here, who is interested in going on a youth exchange tour. So wish her well if you see her. We thought, a young lady from India, Ravati, who was going to join us, except we ran into problems with that. So she's going elsewhere, and we are going to end up with Lisa Pazzola from Belgium, and she will be here sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks. She's going to go to Spring Grove. And finally, today, we have Scarlett Barshinger, who you are about to hear from. And Scarlett is a student at Spring Grove. And just a short history of Scarlett. It was about 2 years ago when she came home from a class at Spring Grove, and she informed her parents that she was going to go on the year program for Rotary Youth Exchange. They were totally, they had no idea. But the reason she decided to do that was she had been in a class at Spring Grove, and Walt Tilley and Jackie Summer had made a presentation to the class, and Scarlett was hooked. So she went from there. I went up and I met with Scarlett and her family and talked about Youth Exchange, and then she started through the process. She went through the district interviews. They loved her. She was accepted. And in, I guess it was February of last year, at the district country reveal program, she found out she was going to Japan. She was overjoyed because that's where she wanted to go. And so she immediately started to study Japanese and got to be, my words, proficient. I don't think she would use those words, but and then about a year ago, we went to Harrisburg International and saw her off, and off to Japan she went for her experience, and she had a fantastic experience. So Scarlett is here to tell you about her year in Japan. Scarlett, and while she's coming up here, for those of you who love jackets, this is a real jacket envy thing here. So.
こんにちは。私はスカーレット・バーシンガーです。1年前、日本に住んでいました。なんと福の富山県立福野高校に行きました。もうなんと福のロータリークラブは私のホストクラブ。Since I assume most of you don't speak Japanese, I'll repeat myself. My name's Scarlett Barshinger, and for the past year, I've lived in Japan as a Rotary Exchange student. I attended Nanto Fukuno High School and was hosted by the Nanto Fukumitsu Rotary Club. To give you a sense of the distance between America and Japan, I have this map for you. So Japan is about as far away from America that you can get in a horizontal line. I had a 26-hour travel day getting to and from Japan, including 3 flights of 2 hours, 13 hours, and 1 hour, going all the way from Harrisburg Airport to Chicago Airport to Tokyo to Toyama, which is my prefecture I stayed in. So Toyama is a prefecture, which is like an American state. There are 46 in Japan. You can see on the more blue map the distance from Tokyo to Toyama, which took me about a 1-hour flight. Some of you might know of Tokyo. It's one of the more famous cities in Japan. Toyama is not a very famous city. It's very rural. You can see a close-up map of Toyama. I actually stayed in 3 different regions of it called Nanto, Tonami, and Oyabe down in the corner there. I was in a very rural town called Nanto Fukumitsu. Here you can see some pictures. A lot of the Japanese architecture is very different from American architecture, which I really enjoyed looking at while I was there. Many houses have tiled roofs instead of shingles, so I thought that was beautiful. You can see a view of the mountains here, which there were a lot of mountains around Toyama. It was in a valley. And there were also lots of fields, which I don't have as many pictures of because we see lots of fields in our area as well. But just know they were there. You can see a spider lily up on the top, which is a Japanese flower. And then I wanted to tell you a little bit about Japanese vending machines. They're a little different from American ones. For one thing, they're everywhere. You see them at train stations, you see them at libraries, sometimes outside of restaurants, and just walking around town. But in the winters, they actually have warm drinks like coffee or cocoa, which I really enjoyed, especially after like a cold, snowy day at school. So here are some pictures of my 4 host families. I had absolutely amazing host families. As Albert and John said a little bit before I went up, host families can really make or break your exchange, and they really made my exchange. My first host family was the Ishizaki family. Sorry. My second one was the Yamamoto family, where I had 4 host siblings. My third one was the Miyata family with 1 host sister. And 4th one was the Taniguchi family, where I didn't have host siblings, but had little host cousins who were very cute. Here's a little bit about my school life. One difference that I noticed on my very first day is that you change shoes when you get to school. So I would walk to school in those little black loafers that you can see, and I would change into the sneakers you can see inside of the open locker. That was a big difference for me. Oh, that was fast. You can also see how different the school looks. Each classroom has a really large window, and there are 3 floors of the school. They're divided by grade level, of which there are only actually 3 in Japanese high school. So the first level is first grade, second level is the second grade, and third level is the third grade. Up at the top, you can see a bento box, which is a lunch box, just in Japanese. And most students will pack their lunches. Most Japanese high schools don't have any cafeteria, but my school did, although most students would still get a packed lunch. You can also see my school uniform on the side there. I wore a pleated skirt with a button-up, sweater vest, little bow, and a blazer. Here are some things about my class. You can see a picture of my whole class on the bottom. Another thing about Japanese high schools that's different is I stayed in one class the whole time I was there, so I got to know those students very well. You can see me in my summer uniform on the side, thankfully a lot lighter than the winter one, or I would have been sweating up a storm. And then you can also see the chalk art that they did for my farewell party. All schools in Japan have chalkboards instead of whiteboards, which was another difference that I noticed. I also got the chance to join the band club. I'm a cellist. I've played the cello for almost 10 years now, but my school only had a band. So I thought that I wouldn't really get to participate in much school music, but my music teacher actually invited me to join them and play for graduation, which is the picture on the top you can see. Graduation is rather different in Japan than America. It's during a school day, so got to miss a day of school, which was a little bit fun. And then they always decorate with these red and white striped banners at almost every special school event. I had a lot of fun with the band club. You can see a picture of all of us together. They actually threw me a personal concert right before I left, so I was really touched by that, and I do miss them a lot. Here are some pictures from one of my favorite trips that I took. Some of my favorite movies, Japanese movies, are the Ghibli movies. So they're animated, and the Ghibli Museum and Park are 2 places that have real life scenes from those movies. So that was a lovely experience for me. Here are some pictures from Kyoto and Osaka. These are 2 other famous cities in Japan that some of you might have heard of. Starting on the left side, you can see Kinpaku Pavilion. Kin means gold in Japanese, which you can probably tell from the pavilion. It's very shiny. It's actually plated with real gold on the sides, and the picture does not do it justice because it was absolutely blinding in person. The next picture over is Osaka-jo. Jo means castle, and this is what a traditional Japanese castle looks like. They're rather fortress-like. You can see just how, you can't see quite how high it goes in that first picture there, but the picture in the bottom corner is actually a view from the top of the castle because I did have the chance to climb it, and it was really amazing. And above that, those are actually small Buddha statues. Buddhism is a popular religion in Japan, and there's a small stone basin in between them you're supposed to try to toss coins into, kind of like a wishing well, and it gives you luck if you can land the coin, which I did, so I guess I'm lucky now. To give you an idea of some of the weather in Toyama, it was very crazy. This is actually at the top of Tateyama Mountain. Tateyama Mountain Range is the range of mountains that surrounds Toyama Prefecture, and the tallest one is also named Tateyama. Very easy to remember. So they actually get over 60 feet of snow every single winter. And after the snow happens, they plow this pathway through it layer by layer. So you can see some of the larger lines. That's the layer the snow truck had to plow, and then go back through and plow again, and then again to finally get down to the ground. You can see sort of from the coach bus on the side there, you'd have to almost stack 4 of them on top of each other to get to the top of this insanely tall snow wall. Another very Japanese thing I got to do was a sumo tournament. Sumo wrestling is a traditional sport in Japan. In the bottom corner, or the bottom middle, you can see the sumo ring. The way sumo wrestling works is each wrestler tries to push the other one outside of that ring. So it's a very exciting sport. I had never seen sumo that much before I went to this tournament, so it was really cool to learn all about it. I was really impressed by the stature of some of these sumo wrestlers. You can see pictures of me next to some of them underneath my heading up there, but it was a really wonderful experience with my host family. Here are some Japanese foods I really enjoyed. Up in the top left is my favorite bowl of ramen I had while I was there. I really love a kind of ramen called shoyu, which means there's soy sauce in the broth. I just find it really tasty. It's very savory. Below that is shabu shabu. Shabu shabu is actually an onomatopoeia. It kind of means the sound a pot makes when it boils, if you can imagine it going like shabu 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 shabu, kind of like that. So it's a hot pot. You dip meat and vegetables into it to quickly boil them and then eat them while they're very hot, normally with rice. Next over, you can see takoyaki, which is taco means octopus. So there is octopus in this dish. It's octopus surrounded by a little like dough ball. It's very tasty. Next over, you can see on the bottom is an omelet. It's called omurice. It's rice with sometimes sausage or meat covered by egg and then a little bit of ketchup. It's very good. And then up there, you can see sushi, and that's actually another fish, that little crinkly black thing. It's very small. Oh, very small, whole roasted fish. Didn't know what it was when I put the first one in my mouth. Kind of felt the bones crunch in my teeth. Turned to my host family and said, "Oh, what is this thing?" And they went, "It's a fish, the whole thing." And I went, "Oh, thank you for letting me try it." And I couldn't really bring myself to eat anymore. If I had more time, I would love to point out every single dessert, but just know Japanese desserts are absolutely gorgeous and always very delicious. I love sweet things, so I think I think I'm an expert on those now. Japanese festivals are an important tradition in Japan. This is the Dekayama Festival, which means huge festival float, and that is a very, very accurate name because this float is over 60 feet tall, 10 tons, and each of those wheels down there is taller than I am, which isn't very tall, but kind of imagine. They're actually solid blocks of a tree. They said from Africa, but I don't know if I was mistranslating. And then if you can sort of see in the balcony, those are children that have climbed into the float. They're real people up there, but they're a little hard to see. Festivals in Japan always have really delicious food, and they're always thrown by the whole town together. So it's a very fun, exciting event. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about holidays. There are several holidays in Japan that just aren't celebrated, like Halloween, 4th of July, of course, Thanksgiving. They do celebrate Christmas and Valentine's Day, but Christmas is actually more of a couple's holiday, like Valentine's Day. So I didn't really do much for it and don't have many pictures from it. We had some fried chicken, which is a thing they do in Japan, and also had cake with strawberries on it, which is two not very American Christmas traditions, but it was interesting to learn about. The much bigger holiday is New Year's. So you can see a bunch of pictures from New Year's, including my second host family there. You eat noodles because long noodles equals long life. Makes sense. And then we also got to ring the temple bell at midnight because in Japanese folklore, there are 108 worries and like problems in Buddhism. And by ringing the bell 108 times as a community, each person rings it once, not personally 108. But by getting it that many times, it sort of keeps away those worries. A couple things about other Japanese holidays that aren't American. Odd numbers are lucky. So the third day of the third month is called Ohina Matsuri, and it's a lucky day for little girls where you eat foods with flowers on them, sushi, pink desserts, and you put out these hina dolls that kind of give good luck to your little girls for the rest of the year. Similarly, the fifth day of the fifth month is Child's Day, but it's more for little boys. They dress up in kimonos, which are traditional Japanese clothing, and they'll go visit shrines or temples, and you also put out samurai helmets, so very manly. This is some Shinto shrines. So there are two main religions in Japan, Shintoism and Buddhism. Shintoism has shrines, which are like these. I got to visit a bunch of them during my time in Japan, and I just think that they're so beautiful. The architecture is unlike anything you really can find in America, and I just think they're gorgeous. I loved learning about the religion, which sort of believes that there's a spirit in everything. And then the other prevalent religion is Buddhism, which has temples. So they're very grandiose, also gorgeous architecture, but a little less naturey than Shintoism. A lot of Japanese people identify as both Shinto and Buddhist, but some only identify as one or the other. Next, I'm going to talk about my host club, which was the Nanto Rotary Club. You can see a picture of all of us up at the top there. I'm the one in the white socks because we're all sort of wearing the same color and it's hard to tell. Down in the bottom corner, you can see them welcoming me at the airport, which was one of the most reassuring moments of my exchange, having so many people there right from the get-go. And then you can also see me giving them our York Rotary Club banner. The Nanto Club is very active in service. One of their most popular events is a fish release in their local river. I actually got to help out. I put fish into little buckets and kindergartners got to dump the fish into the river. They sort of chanted this cute little saying like, grow strong little fishies. I hope you all live for a long time. A little funny thing about the fish, though, is they were released to be caught later and eaten. So I'm glad the kindergartners didn't know that. Up on the top, you can see me meeting the mayor, that he had an animatronic seal plushie that would move and bark. He did not tell me before he put it in my lap. I was a little shocked. My host club also threw me a farewell barbecue. All of the food was so delicious. You can see a picture of me with all my host families, and I actually got to wear kimono, Japanese traditional clothing. So that was a really wonderful experience. So much food at Japanese parties. If you ever go to one, you will be absolutely stuffed. So I want to share a quote with all of you as I finish my presentation. It's friendship was the foundational rock upon which Rotary was built, and tolerance is the element that holds it together. Some of you might have heard this as it's by Paul Harris, the founder of Rotary International. I just wanted to speak of it because I think that Rotary Youth Exchange really represents what Paul Harris wanted Rotary to be. I have built so many new friendships with people I never would have met if I hadn't had the chance to go on Rotary Youth Exchange because of all of you. And I really think I've gained a lot of cultural understanding and tolerance, and that Rotary Youth Exchange really just increases that, whether you're a host family, a student, or someone that just gets to know anyone really who has been in the Rotary Youth Exchange circle. So I just want to thank all of you for the chance to go on this wonderful experience, and I just had so much fun. So arigatou gozaimasu in Japanese is thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a question about sleep because it's been in the news recently with the, I think it was the Prime Minister of Japan saying that she was getting only like 1 hour of sleep a night or something. And I know that when we hosted a student from Japan a number of years ago, he took pride in not sleeping, and that was apparently a big thing. Is that something that you found in your experience?
So I definitely was getting more than 1 hour of sleep while I was in Japan, but it is surprising how little Japanese high schoolers sleep. A lot of them will be going to bed around 11 or 12 and needing to wake up around 5 to go to school. I would actually get to school, I would need to leave around 6:30. I would get there around 8:20, and school would let out at 5:30 every day. So I had a very long school day, and I understand with how heavy some of their course loads were, how much homework they're doing, involved in clubs, that they don't really have much time for sleep. So I got it. Not everyone else did.
I'm curious what your plans are post-secondary education and whether your year in Japan changed that trajectory at all.
It changed it by a large margin. I really had no clue what I wanted to do before I went on exchange. I'm now rather interested in foreign diplomacy or something with cultural relations. So I'm planning to major in international relations or something like that.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because it fits into my question, which is, did you come away with any perception of the larger picture of how Japan sees itself in the world? If that question makes sense to you.
A little bit. I think that Japan really likes itself, which I think Japan is pretty wonderful. So I don't think it's a completely unfounded opinion, but I think that Japan is becoming increasingly more global as times go on, and especially now with a lot more trade, a lot more relation. In my hope, it continues to become more open. Because I would love to go back, and I would love for as many people to visit Japan as possible, as difficult as the travel day might be.
I wondered why you had to change shoes at high school, and what was the biggest difference you saw between high school students in Spring Grove and in Japan?
So we actually changed shoes as kind of a cleanliness thing. It sort of keeps the dirt on your outside shoes away from the inside of your house. Similarly, in Japanese houses, you actually take off your shoes before entering. So it kind of goes along that way. Somewhere you spend a lot of time in, you want to keep a little cleaner. I think the biggest difference in my school was probably girls and guys aren't really friends. Japanese culture is very high context, which means they don't say as much as you do in English. A lot of stuff is assumed. So if you ever hang out, one girl, one guy, everyone else thinks you're automatically dating. So a couple of exchange students kind of ran into trouble with that. I was okay, but like without meaning to, everyone else kind of thought they were dating someone, which isn't allowed for Rotary. And as soon as they figured it out, obviously they stopped doing that, but it was kind of an interesting thing for me to adjust to.
I'm wondering if you changed their perception of Americans, or it was what they expected.
I think that it was kind of 50-50. One thing I shocked them on a little bit was that I don't like soda. They kind of thought the average American's diet was hamburgers, soda, chicken fingers, and French fries. So they were like, "Oh, you can eat sushi? Oh, nice, nice." So that was a little funny. But on other things, obviously, I tended to talk a little louder before I went to Japan. My family has told me like to speak up several times. I kind of adjusted to that. And a couple other things like I have curly hair, which is actually pretty unusual in Japan. The beauty standard is kind of straight hair there. So there's actually a rule in most high schools that you're not allowed to curl your hair at all. And at a lot of assemblies, the teachers would look at me and be like, everyone except you, because I have curly hair. So that was a little funny.
Several parts of this question. What's something you learned that surprised you about the Japanese culture that you really came to appreciate? Something that you learned about yourself, personality-wise or value-wise?
Um, I think I'd heard about a little of the shoe changing kind of thing, but the cleanliness and intentionality of like keeping everything clean and organized, I ended up really appreciating. And about myself, I think I really learned a lot more about what I'd like to do in life, especially specifically right now with college, but in a greater perspective, I learned my love for languages, my love for meeting new people, sort of personal relation kind of things. So that was definitely something new I learned about myself. I'd never really considered a career in any of those things before.
That okay. Yeah, that's fascinating. Let me ask you, in high school, did you have any perception with the first female prime minister in Japan now, the daughter of, I'll use the word king, is kind of popular? Is the discussion that she should take the royal throne as being the potential first woman leader, ceremonial leader of Japan? How did students feel about that?
I didn't end up talking about that with many students. I talked about it with Rotarians a little bit. It's very controversial. I think at this moment it's pretty much a 50-50 split on people wanting to continue the bloodline more specifically, or people wanting to continue the tradition of having only male emperors, as they call them. Uh, Personally, I think it would be pretty cool for Japan to have its first female emperor, but I don't really know what the final decision is going to be.
So you've spoken a lot about the differences that you've noticed. What has been your favorite difference or something that you saw or even ate in Japan, maybe both, that you wish America had or America did?
Um, that's a difficult one. I honestly, I really enjoyed the idea of communities working together to make spaces better for everyone. Many towns in Japan have virtually no litter on streets, which is just something, obviously, it's way nicer to walk around without seeing trash on the ground. And then there's a lot of other things about like sort of a job ethic of I really like how everyone kind of puts their best towards whatever job they have, even if that's what someone would call like a lower or like worse job to have. Just putting your all towards like anything you're doing will almost always help the people around you. So I think that's really wonderful. To throw in one food that I really like, I just love curry rice. Japanese curry is very different from Indian curry. It's more of a stew, it's thicker, and it's obviously over sticky rice because that's what Japanese people eat a lot more. I just love it. It is a sort of a little kid food, so maybe I just have a young palate, but I think it's pretty tasty.
What did you pick up on as typical Japanese attitudes about America and Americans? Did you get a different perspective from there than you might have had here?
There were definitely thoughts about America. Some people that I've heard talk about meeting people who really didn't like Americans. I didn't meet any of those people. Maybe it's because I was in a really rural town that hasn't had as much of an influence from other cultures, but almost every student that I met thought it was really cool I was from America, and most adults thought the same. They had a pretty positive view of the average American person. There were obviously some stereotypes that I ran into, like the soda burgers thing, but there weren't really any like, I expected you to be an awful person, but you're not nice. So that's good. I always did my best to try to give a good impression of Americans as a ambassador. So hopefully they left with a better opinion than they had before.
Scarlett, hold on a second. Before you go, tell them what was the one food that you missed the most from America?
Funnily enough, the food I found myself craving the most was Nutella. There were a couple others, but the one I thought about the most was definitely Nutella. My parents ended up sending me a bottle of it, which I shared with my host families. So, yeah.
Thank you. You can say it. Scarlett, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing about your trip, certainly for representing our club abroad and representing our community as well. I'm also very appreciative of the mentoring and the help that you provided to Sanaya as she prepared for her trip, and we're thrilled to have Isa here today, learning more about the program. So, in honor of our speaker, we do donate a book. Today's book is being donated to the York JCC Early Learning Center. Hopefully you all were paying attention. You saw the reference to the octopus that Scarlett ate in Japan. However, we don't have an octopus book today, so we're donating a squiggly story in Scarlett's behalf. Next week, our speaker, we will hear from District Governor Rebecca Zalett. Rebecca is the 2026-2027 District Governor for Rotary District 7390. An educator and community leader, she also serves as Executive Director of the Palmyra Area Recreation and Parks Commission. Rebecca's presentation will explore Rotary International's 2026-2027 presidential message, Creating Lasting Impact. She'll challenge our attendees to think beyond activities to the lasting difference their service makes in their communities. She'll share her personal Rotary journey, discussing how inviting others into service transforms lives and encourage clubs to better their best by building on their own success. Our final thought for the day: if your actions inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. By John Quincy Adams. With that, we're adjourned.